My grandfather often told me success is like a glacier. What the world notices is tiny compared to the vast foundation beneath. I never really grasped his meaning until I became that glacier myself. My name is Lena Morales, and this is the story of how I went from being dismissed as the embarrassment of my sister's glamorous circle to witnessing her carefully polished image fracture in a single unforgettable night. From our walk-up apartment above the family's Cuban bakery in Little Havana, Miami. I learned sweat equity before I'd even hit double digits. At 9, I was folding pastry boxes and memorizing the names of regulars. By 13, I was catching accounting errors my uncle overlooked while tracking inventory. Miros, my grandfather would call, waving a sticky notepad, and I'd dart over, eager to help. We're spending too much on guava puree, I'd say. But if we bulk order with the cafe across the street, he'd laugh, tap my forehead, and reply, business brain on a child's shoulders. You'll make something big, Mia. While other kids played soccer, I calculated margins and read about scalable operations. My parents worked from sunrise until midnight to cover my NYU scholarship, and I owed them more than grades. At 23, I launched a data-driven microloan platform that quickly gained traction in immigrant communities. By 28, it had grown into Silera Capital, a multi-million-dollar venture. Still, I stayed quiet. It's content in the shadows. That was when I met Ryan. It happened in a cramped, used, re-quit. I squirrel off coral. I was in yoga pants and a worn college tee, reading finance articles on my tablet when he toppled a stack of books. "Whoa, sorry," he blurted, scrambling to help. "No worries," I laughed. "I'm Lena Ryan," he said, smiling. One cafecito led to lunch, and lunch eventually led to everything else. Ryan wasn't chasing IPOs. He was a civics teacher at a public school, grounded, genuine, deeply committed to social equity. He cared about people. 6 months later, when he proposed, I said yes without a moment's hesitation. My family was overjoyed, except for my sister, Camila. Camila and I had always lived on different tracks. She chose the traditional route: business school, corporate ladder, sharp suits, and sharper elbows. As marketing director at Vallon and Cross, one of Miami's premier investment firms, she thrived on prestige. She loved me, sure, but she never disguised the fact she didn't quite see me as an equal. Over dinner at our parents' house in Coconut Grove, she swirled her wine like a judge at a tasting and said, "So you're still running the bakery and that little app thing?" I could have told her that my little app had just secured a multi-year contract with one of the largest private equity groups in the Southeast. But I kept quiet, enjoying the hidden power of being underestimated. "I'm still involved in both." "Yeah," I said, sipping my cafe. "Well, someone has to keep the pastries flowing." She smirked. "Not everyone can land a C-suite track position." Our mother jumped in diplomatically. Camila just closed a huge campaign at Vallon and Cross. The CEO personally thanked her. What they didn't know was that Vallon and Cross had already been licensing analytical tools for my company for a year and were negotiating expansion. "That's wonderful," I said with genuine warmth. Camila beamed, mistaking silence for surrender. Months rolled on in the same rhythm, Camila subtly cutting me down at family gatherings, Ryan reminding me gently to let it slide. Then came her announcement she was hosting a gala to celebrate her promotion to senior director. At the planning dinner, she turned to me with a smile sharp as glass. "Lena, since you've got experience with events and food service, would you mind handling the catering crew?" "Perfect idea," Mom clapped. "Lena runs a business. She knows logistics." I met Camila's smug gaze and replied smoothly, "Of course, I'd be happy to help." Later, Ryan tried to pull me aside, guilt clouding his face. "You don't have to go through with this. We can tell them you're sick or claim a work emergency." But my mind was already turning. No, I want to help. It's her big night. Everything should be flawless. What no one realized was that earlier that morning, the Whitmore estate had been transformed into something between a luxury showroom and a Pinterest meets Wall Street fantasy. Crystal stemware glittered on every table. Ice sculptures sweated in the Florida heat, and a harpist strummed by the garden fountain. The budget alone looked larger than her bonus Lena. Camila swept in like a queen silk gown shimmering under the lights. The catering staff is waiting. Keep them in line. And please, her eyes flicked over my modest black dress, stay behind the scenes. Of course, I said evenly. I'll make sure everything runs smoothly. Ryan squeezed my arm. We can leave now. I smiled. No need. Everything is going exactly as planned. In the kitchen, the catering crew was frazzled. Camila had demanded last-minute changes. Ms. Morales, a young server, asked nervously, "Your sister wants champagne served at exactly 8:15 for her speech, but also ongoing tray service. And we're short to servers." "Don't worry," I said with a reassuring smile. "I've handled worse nights in a bakery without air conditioning. Let me help. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who should have supported you, stay with me, 'cause what happened next didn't just change the room. It changed the game. And if you want to see how quiet power makes the loudest impact when it matters most, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The next part of this story is one you won't want to miss for the next hour." I worked shoulder to shoulder with the catering staff, coordinating timing, plating hors d'oeuvres, and ensuring champagne flowed on schedule. Meanwhile, I scanned the guest list, taking note of each arrival. Camila floated from group to group, sipping too much Prosecco and laughing a little too hard at her colleagues' jokes. "Did you see Lena?" I overheard her giggle to a cluster of sharply dressed executives. "She's helping the catering team. Honestly, it's where she feels most at home." "Poor thing." A chorus of polite chuckles followed. "Some people just aren't cut out for this world," she added with a shrug. Our mother Rosa chimed in sweetly. "We've always tried to include her. Of course, that's what family does. But with her background, well, we can only do so much." I passed another tray of canapes, listening as Valen and cross executives trickled in. At 7:55 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from my CFO. All signed. Everything's in place. We're greenlit. I smiled to myself. Right on cue, Camila, flushed with drink and praise, addressed another group. When Ryan first introduced me to his girlfriend, my sister, I thought he was joking. "A baker, an app tinkerer?" She laughed. "But our mother always says charity begins at home." "Speaking of charity," Rosa added, "we're thinking of helping her with a small down payment on a modest condo. Not too close to Coral Gables, of course, but something manageable." Just then, a ripple swept across the room. James Valen had arrived. Camila nearly stumbled in her rush to greet him. "Mr. Valen, we're so honored to have you." Dressed in a bespoke navy suit, he scanned the crowd. Then his eyes landed on me, his brow furrowed, recognition flashing. Camila laughed nervously. "Oh, don't mind her. That's my sister, Lena, just lending a hand with the service. Now, let me show you the marketing deck I prepared." "Actually," James cut in, still watching me closely. "Isn't that—" I passed my tray to a waiter and stepped forward. "Lena, please," Camila hissed. "Mr. Valen doesn't need a drink. Go back to the kitchen where you—" "Hello, James," I said evenly. "Thank you for coming tonight." His face brightened. "Miss Morales, I didn't expect to find you serving drinks at your own celebration." Camila's voice snapped, brittle with disbelief. "What?" "Yes." James spoke smoothly, as if he had been waiting for this moment. "Since Solera Capital has just acquired controlling interest in Balon and Cross, I assumed this gathering was meant to announce the merger." He turned to me with a restrained smile. "Less you'd intended to keep that secret a bit longer." The estate fell silent. Even the string quartet stopped mid-note. Ice clinked in untouched glasses. Mila's Prosecco flute slipped from her hand, shattering on marble. "There must be some mistake," she stammered. "Lena, she's a baker. She runs that little shop in Little Havana." James chuckled. "Miss Morales is the founder and CEO of Solera Capital. As of today, she owns 51% of my firm, and by extension, your department." His gaze slid back to me, gleaming. "Those data stream optimizations you suggested, brilliant." Our engineers couldn't stop praising them. Across the room, Rosa clutched the edge of a chair, pale and trembling. This can't be. Lena doesn't, she couldn't be. Oh, but I am, I said quietly. In the stunned hush, my voice carried. Solera Capital has been mine from the beginning. And 10 minutes ago, we secured majority control of Balon and Cross. I turned toward Camila, including marketing. Her face drained of color, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. All those times her words faltered. I'll finish it for you, I said. All those times you dismissed me, treated me as if I didn't belong, as if I should be grateful just to hover at the edges of your world. Ryan pushed through the frozen crowd. Lena, why didn't you tell me? Would it matter? No, Camila snapped. You humiliated me. I kept my voice calm. No, Camila, you humiliated yourself. I simply didn't stop you. I'll resign, she spat. I won't work for you. That's your choice. But before you walk away, understand every major firm in Miami already knows what happened tonight. Your insults directed at people like me while mocking your own CEO won't be forgotten. Her shoulders sagged. What do you want from me? I want you to learn. Starting Monday, you'll join our community outreach team. We're launching a program to support local restaurants and small businesses with stronger financial tools. She blinked. Reporting to who? To my mother, I replied. She still runs the family bakery by choice, not desperation. She led the initiative. Camila's jaw dropped, but Rosa slid in behind her. Lena, surely we can discuss this privately. We're family, after all. Family. I've faced her fully. For 3 years, you made me sit with the caterers, cropped me out of photos, and spoke about me like I was charity. At what point was I ever family? We didn't know. She murmured that you had money. That's the point. You thought I wasn't worth respect because you assumed I was poor? That's when Hector set down his glass. The room stilled. She's right, Rosa. We've treated her shamefully, my father said, voice low but firm. He turned to my mother, then back to me. I sat by and watched our values decay into pride, prejudice, and appearances. Maybe this was the wake-up call we needed. Finally, Reen spoke again, the crowd now gone, leaving only us and the ruins of assumption. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to, I answered. So many times. But when you stayed silent while your family mocked me, I realized you couldn't respect me as a baker. Then you didn't deserve to know me as a CEO. I love you, he pleaded. Desperation, thick. Love without respect doesn't last. Each time you let your family treat me as less than human. You showed me the true worth of our relationship. I can change now that I understand. Now that you understand I'm rich. That's not growth, Ryan. That's adaptation. I slid off my wedding ring, setting it on the marble edge. I filed for divorce last week. Expect my attorney's call. Lena, please. I turned to Camila. Tomorrow, I'll meet with Balin and Cross's board. But you'll report to my mother at the bakery on Monday. She doesn't tolerate lateness. Then I looked at Rosa. The estate looks beautiful tonight. Enjoy it while you can. The bank approved my bid this morning. It's now the Morales, Foundation for Opportunity, the headquarters for training and uplifting Florida's service workers. Their stunned faces were priceless, but I didn't linger. Outside, the warm breeze brushed against me as my phone buzzed. A message lit the screen. Come to the bakery for late dinner. Your father made your favorite. I smiled. Be there in 20. 20 minutes later, I was back where everything began. Home in my parents' bakery. Eating empanadas and laughing over the night's chaos. People like that, Mom said, shaking her head. They need hard lessons. Success without humility, Dad added, is like sugar without yeast. Sweet, but it never rises. As I wiped down counter Z's, the CEO of Solera Capital still cleans up by thought about the journey. The little girl who once counted coins now counted capital in billions. But my real wealth had always been respect, integrity, and the courage to know my worth. If my story reminded you of your own being underestimated, dismissed, or told you weren't enough, I'd love to hear it. Share in the comments. Let's build a space where quiet strength is honored. And if you believe respect matters more, then status, that success without humility means nothing. Subscribe and stay connected. I built my empire brick by brick. But it all began with knowing my worth. My advice: never let anyone else define your value. Keep building even when no one's watching, especially then. That's when character, not just success, is forged.